Well, good morning and welcome to the show. Jeff Beals here at your service. We're brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. This is the only show you're going to find in the metro area that talks about business expansion, real estate, construction, economic development, fun things if you care about the growth and development of this city. Well, without any further ado, it's time to bring on my co-host, a man who is legendary as a real estate broker and all-around good deal maker, Trenton Magid.
You got that right.
Damn straight. It's
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're enjoying March Madness and all the upsets that are ruining your brackets.
But the only time of year I ever watch any basketball.
I like the parties.
You like the parties. Well, without any further ado, we are going to get into our Grow Omaha Eats with Sarah Baker Hansen section, sponsored by Cheer Athletics. Cheer Athletics is the nation's top all-star gym. The local location owned by our good friends Craig and Tiffany Wolf. It's located at Highways 50 and 370, just a little bit southwest of Highway 50 and 370 in Papillion. And in this week's review section, Grow Omaha contributor Sarah Baker Hansen writes about Cross Strain Brewery. And Cross Strain Brewery, I've had their beer lots. I love a lot of the local Omaha breweries like Pint Nine and what is that, Brickway and a few others that periodically go to. And Cross Strain's very, very good. And Sarah talks about how their Fairy Nectar beer is one of the single most popular beers consumed in the state of Nebraska.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
So I'd met the gentleman who started Cross Strain before they had anything.
Was it Cross or Strain?
Both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we represented them, and one of them looks like Weird Al Yankovic.
Really?
Yeah. And
did you say that to his face? Because he's probably listening.
He knows, but just as talented.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He can do imitations?
No, but with beer.
Oh, he can sing?
And we put him over in Portal Road. They have a beautiful facility there, and cool mural in there, and tap room, and the whole bit. And they've expanded beyond probably. I mean, they may have had the vision, but they've done a wonderful job. So I was there at the beginning, and congratulations.
Yeah, good job, Trenton. And if you want to learn more about Cross Strain Brewing, read Sarah Baker Hansen's article. And you can get it a couple ways. Probably the easiest is to go to growomaha.com and click on Eats, E-A-T-S, on the navigation bar. And then if you want to get the newsletter sent to you every week, and then Sarah's review shows up in it every other week, just sign up for the newsletter at growomaha.com, and it'll be conveniently delivered to your email inbox every Thursday afternoon.
Do we still have a little contest going on?
Yeah, we still do have a little contest going on, and pretty soon we'll be able to pick a winner of our $500 Nebraska Crossing gift card.
Is there two?
Just one. Yeah. If you want to buy an extra one, we can and give that to someone else. But
did you take the second one, Jeff?
No, there's just one.
Okay.
I don't know what you're doing. You're coming up with this idea of two, but we're just giving away one. And it's for anyone who signs up in the month of March. Actually, it goes back to, I think it was the last week of February and the month of March, in like a 6-week period. Anyone who signs up in that will be thrown into a drawing. So, shall we go to the news?
Yes.
It's brought to you by Eagle Mortgage. Eagle Mortgage is the standard bearer and the model of outstanding mortgage brokerage service. Holly Schneidewin and her team over at 114th and Davenport do an outstanding job with conventional FHA and VA loans. And doesn't matter whether you are thinking about buying a house urgently or maybe down the road at some point in time, just meet with Holly's team and see what you're qualified for. Let them coach you through the process. You can find them in person at 114th and Davenport or online at eaglemortgagecompany.com. Well, Trenton, let's start with a couple of construction projects because that's one of the things Grow Omaha listeners love to hear about. And the first one, developers are planning a mixed-income neighborhood in the Elkhorn area, and this is going to be a $43 million project known as Capriana, and it'll soon rise on 15 acres near 210th and West Maple. What's unique about this is that the plans call for 11 for-sale houses that would be affordable, but then 149 apartments, which would be luxury market rate. And so it's going to be an alliance between a company called Apogee and Habitat for Humanity. But what's interesting about this is normally you would think of the apartments as being affordable. These are going to be the single-family houses that'll be affordable.
That is an interesting concept.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch how it all plays out. But like I said, 210th and West Maple Road is where that project is located.
Got to have a good housing mix.
Well, actually, more and more that is becoming the case. As the prices have risen in the Omaha housing market quite a bit faster than usual over the last couple of years, that's becoming an issue about affordable housing. Last year it was about 9.9% increase in housing prices in Omaha, and that puts us, as we mentioned on last week's show, 38th out of the top 100 metros.
So that was existing sales.
I don't know the specifics. It just said the price of home sales went up by 9.9%.
New home sales. I mean, Celebrity's home, my friends over at Celebrity, I remember they were building homes under $200,000. And maybe they still are, but I know they've gone over 400 in some people's new homes.
No doubt about it. You get a lot more house for the dollar if you go the used home route, or should we say pre-enjoyed house? Preoccupied.
It depends on what you're looking for.
Construction is now in full gear on the site of a long vacant 24-hour fitness club at 1718 North 118th Street. So that's right along the east side of 120th Street between Blondo and Maple. Some of you may remember the old fitness club that was there. It has been mostly demolished. The base of it is being retained, and then plans call for a $35 million multifamily building to be constructed on top of what remains of the original building. Very cool. 6-story project, 150 apartment units, and they're going to use the indoor pool that was once part of the 24-hour fitness.
So I think they're doing the same thing over in Alltech Business Park, 144th and F Street area. Same investment group, I believe, that are going to turn that into multifamily as well.
Turn the 24-hour fitness former building? That's interesting because I know there is an apartment building or two already going up in Alltech.
I think Ted Grace, there's a big apartment project there too. So interesting taking this, mostly business park, commercial park, some industrial park, and turning it into multifamily as well.
So if they are doing the old 24-hour fitness Genesis Health Club at 144th and F, that would be separate from the apartment project that's there right now? Okay. Interesting. Well, it appears likely that the Do Space at 72nd and Dodge will temporarily relocate to the Milton R. Abrahams branch library at 5111 North 90th Street. That's going to be necessary because pretty soon they're going to tear down the existing Do Space building in order to make way for the flagship central headquarters library, which is going to be amazing, state of the art. But they want to make sure they can continue to offer some of those services that Do Space provides and people have become accustomed to. So it'll be kind of a transitional thing. It has to be approved by the city council still. I suspect it will be.
The design came out several months ago, and it was beautiful. And supposedly they have a state-of-the-art, I think it's like 50 feet tall, a warehouse, all automated, that any volume or any book they can call up within 2 minutes.
Yeah, it'll be like some sort of Amazon technology almost. Yeah. So right across the street to the north from the current Do Space location and future flagship library location is something we call the Crossroads. And KETV put out a development update for the Crossroads this week, and I'll tell you what it says, and then Trenton, you can kind of tell us what you think that means. But first of all, sewer work at the Crossroads project has been completed, and street paving is scheduled to begin in May. Construction is already underway on a related project to widen Dodge Street westbound west of 72nd Street and to improve Cass, which is on the development's north side. Infrastructure work should be completed by the end of this year. First building should start going up in early 2024, according to KETV.
Yeah, and I think full build out or substantial completion 2026. I know it's later than the 2024. They talked about Frank Krejci, our friend, who was the co-developer, passed away. His family is still very much involved, Century Development. and then Chip James and Lockwood are working on the project, and it sounds like the horizontal project, meaning the sewer, the streets, and all that stuff, will get done, and then I think you'll see some major announcements about the vertical portion of it.
Well, when you're talking about $500 million or more projects, sometimes they just take a little longer than people initially think, and especially when there are a lot of moving pieces and the landscape is changing around you.
And not to mention what's going on with the office market, not to mention what's going on with the economy, and some people have consternation. The good news is that overall, and I've been as busy as ever with retail and office projects, and people are buying dirt, and there's a lot of cash, especially in Omaha, Nebraska. There's some people talk about how the interest rates, they're 7% or 6 or 7% for commercial loans and all that kind of stuff. But the truth is, people are buying buildings, people are buying land. They still have a bunch of money, and if you can only get a few percent in a savings account, why not try to make a little bit more? And as Warren Buffett always says, be a contrarian. And when people are buying, you may want to be a seller. And vice versa.
There you go. Financial advice right here on the Grow Omaha News.
Regurgitated.
And we finish with a story that will boost your civic pride. Get a load of this. USA Today 10 Best Reader's Choice Awards has selected Omaha's Henry Doorly Zoo and Aquarium as the best zoo in the entire country. The Henry Doorly Zoo's exhibit Asian Highlands was voted the #1 best zoo exhibit, and the affiliated Lee G. Simmons Wildlife Safari Park in Ashland was named the country's best safari park. So the Omaha Henry Doorly Zoo and Aquarium cleaned up, won all 3 big awards.
You're welcome, because every time I got prompted, now, unlike a lot of political elections in Chicago and some other parts of our country, they encourage us to vote once a day. And I took it seriously, and I won't take all the credit, but I'll tell you.
You shouldn't, because I probably voted 4 or 5 times myself.
A day?
No, you're only allowed to vote once a day.
Okay, so congratulations. I'm sick of I know San Diego has a beautiful zoo, but I'm sick of people just assuming that San Diego has the nicest zoo.
San Diego's zoo should be #1 if you're only basing it on flowers and landscaping and cool tropical plants. If you look at the quality of the exhibits and the mix of the rare animals and all that, I think Henry Doorly blows them out of the water.
And it's still growing.
And so last year in this same ranking, Henry Doorly Zoo came in #2, so we beat that and are now #1. And then Asian Highlands, this is the 4th year in a row it has been named the country's best individual zoo exhibit, and this is the 3rd year in a row that the Lee G. Simmons Wildlife Safari Park has been named #1 safari park. So good job to Dr. Luis Padilla and all of his team at the zoo and the wildlife safari. You guys are doing a great job in making us proud.
So it's great to be in #1. Just don't step in #2.
And with that, we wrap up the news of the week, which is brought to you by Eagle Mortgage, eaglemortgagecompany.com. When we come back, we're going to do one of our local company features. We have with us Ryan Zink, who is CEO and founder of Franchise Sidekick. We're going to talk a little bit about the franchising industry and a little bit about his company. You're listening to Jeff and Trenton on Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. Back in a moment on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And welcome back to the show. Jeff Beals and Trenton Magid in the KFAB studio high above Underwood Avenue in beautiful downtown Dundee. Show's brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. If you ever have a little bit of a slip up on the road, whether that's slipping on ice or just a mistake in general, and you have a cosmetic issue or worse with your car, you definitely want to go to Dingman's Collision Center. You can go to whichever collision center you want, but I think the decision is super easy. No one does as good of a job as Dingman's, and they've got 4 metro area locations. Each one of them is outstanding. So wherever you live in the area, you don't have to go very far. Northwest Omaha, Midtown, Southwest O, Papillion, they're all around there. And they have been chosen as Best of Omaha in auto body repair every year since 2005.
And they're so honest that if someone tells you that you need more blinker fluid in your car, don't believe them.
That's right, because Dingman's will never try to sell you blinker fluid.
And
Dingman's Collision Center, sponsor of the Grow Omaha show and so many other good things that they do around the city.
And I use their mechanical shop, too, at 120th and West Maple Road.
Folks, we'd like to introduce you to Ryan Zink. He is the CEO and founder of franchise Sidekick. We're going to feature him as an entrepreneur and his company this week on Grow Omaha. Good morning, Ryan. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. And it's good to meet you in person. I've heard a lot about you, and we've talked on the phone a couple times over the years. And so you have an interesting model in the franchise world. And so I think before we kind of talk about what's going on in the franchise world, why don't you give us a little bit of a background about your career and your business and how you eventually wound up to where you are today running Franchise Sidekick.
Yeah, thanks. Omaha guy, born and raised, Millard South, UNO, got a degree in communications, thought I was going to do what you guys do, and met my wife my senior year, so decided to put that on pause for a minute and just get a job until we figured it out. And I started working at a GNC store, franchise GNC, so I learned franchising there, had some success, and the franchisee and I eventually became business partners, and we started a franchisor called Complete Nutrition. Grew that to a couple of hundred locations around the country, and throughout that process, you learn a lot of things. And the one that I really fell in love with was the franchise development side of it. I always really appreciated the nutrition side, but I fell in love with the idea of people becoming entrepreneurs. So we sold Complete Nutrition in December of 2015. And I got a great piece of advice from an EO brother of mine, and he said, I was like, what should I do next? And he said, do what you know, do it with people you know, and do it in a way that you can do it better. And one of the things that I realized is franchisors, they need to be great at whatever their business is. And it's really difficult for them to be great at that and also be great at finding qualified partners around the country. There was a few folks out there doing franchise development as a franchise sales organization at the time. And I said, I think I might be able to do that a little better. So in January of 2017, started Franchise Fastlane.
And tell us a little bit about Franchise Fastlane, because that's different than Franchise Sidekick.
Yeah, the way I like to explain it is like real estate, right? If you're selling a home, you have a seller's agent that represents your interest, and the person looking at your home, they have a buyer's agent that is looking at their interest. So Franchise Fastlane, they represent next big thing franchisors. They interview about 200 to 220 franchisors a year, and they'll usually bring on about 5 to 10 that have the characteristics to be what we call the next big thing. So then they become an extension of those franchise brands representing them. Now, Franchise Sidekick, we represent clients, people who want to own a franchise. So not the franchisor, but instead the individual who says, hey, look, I'm ready to make the entrepreneurial leap. I want to do it in a way that reduces my risk as much as possible. I don't know where to begin. I don't know how to look at the legal documents. I don't know how to get funding. So we'll go and represent them and find the best franchise for them.
So one thing that's a common denominator in all these things is people. And your company, so you have a stable, like 80 different franchises you're talking about before the show, and you need to fit people, their abilities. How do you figure out what they're capable of? And having money in the bank is an important thing too, but how do you determine their skill set?
Yeah, great question. Well, the first call is always a financial and an experience call, right? So we understand where they are financially, we understand what their experience was, but then we put them through a really robust process called a franchise fit. And that looks at 6 things: time, money, business preferences, probability of success, growth opportunities, and community involvement. So we take them through this, and from there, we can really narrow down. Let's say somebody wants to keep a job. We got to narrow down the number of franchisors that would allow that. Somebody wants to have few employees. Somebody wants retail or they don't want retail. Whatever those preferences are, child enrichment, food, fitness, whatever their preferences are, we then can go take these franchisors that we've qualified as being fantastic kind of next big thing franchisors, and we usually narrow it down to about 3 to 5 brands that we think will fit the criteria of the person we're working with once they go through that franchise fit process.
You used the analogy earlier of being somewhat like a realtor helping people either sell the house or buy the house. So do you do brokerage in that sort of way? And then does your company get some sort of fee, commission, or royalty that is analogous to how a real estate agent is paid?
Almost like exactly the same. Now, the one big difference, so the franchisors, they pay us, right? And so the one big difference is, as a real estate agent, they're going to be motivated for you to buy a more expensive home because then their percentage is going to be more. Ours is pretty consistent across all the franchise brands. So we truly just want to find the right franchise brand that's right for the client.
So it's just a fixed fee?
Within a small range, very close within a small range. And so then we can really just look at what's the best opportunity for the client, and hopefully we get referrals and repeat business.
How long does the process take for someone who, say, has never done a franchise, has never bought a franchise? How long, and I know it's a range, but how long does that process take from qualifying to figuring it out?
Yeah, you got it. We call that discovery, and it's about if somebody is fully engaged and they're able to make all the meetings that we need them to make, it's about 8 weeks. Now, we've had people that do it in 8 weeks. We've had people that take 6 months because, it's a big decision. Usually a franchise agreement's going to be about 10 years long. You're going to invest, several $100,000 to maybe more, and we really want to make sure that they feel comfortable with that investment. So we don't pressure them to do it within that 8-week period. We give them the time that they need.
So when you're working with them, do you work with them in person or virtually?
Both. I would say the majority of it is virtually. That's just the way business is conducted now. I mean, we're working with hundreds of people interested at any one time. And so the majority of it is over Zoom. But if it is somebody local, we'll absolutely go out and meet them in person.
So your clients are nationwide or worldwide?
Nationwide. Well, North America.
North America. Okay. And then do you just need one office since you do everything or so much virtually, or do you have offices in other cities?
We don't have offices, but we have a lot of remote employees. So, Fastlane, I think we are somewhere in the ballpark of 70 employees. Sidekick is somewhere in the ballpark of 20, and about half in each scenario are here in Omaha.
So let's talk a little bit about franchising in general. When I think of franchises, I think, okay, people choose it because it's safer. There's a model that's already been established, and then it's also a shortcut for branding and marketing because the name's out there. But talk to us a little bit about where franchising is right now. Is it growing? Who's going into it? And am I right? Or are those the reasons why people do it?
You are, and there's a misconception around it. So franchising is huge. There's 800,000 different franchise businesses in the United States alone. A new franchise opens every 8 minutes of every working day, right? So It's a huge industry. But I believe the misconception is people will tell you that franchising is inherently safer than starting your own business. And it's not exactly true. There's 4,000 franchise concepts out there, right? So if you're doing your own research, trying to figure it out on your own, if you buy a brand that's stagnant or doesn't have what it takes to really support you, you're not any better off than if you were to go open your own individual business. The key is what I call a top 20% franchise. So only about 20% of franchisors ever reach 100 locations open. And it's kind of a, stick your thumb in the air. But 100 locations traditionally is where I consider them to have somewhat of a national brand presence, a community of peers and other franchisees that can truly help you experience leadership technology, marketing systems that are proven to work. And so what we really can do is we can help people identify what are those franchisors that have the characteristics that if they're under 100 units to get there, and if they're over 100 units to be able to continue to support it through the next phase of growth. And that's so important. The brand first is so important, and it's difficult if you're not in this industry to look at 4,000 of them and say, how do I go find the right one?
Well, Ryan, as we wrap this up, let me ask if any of our listeners want to work with you and your colleagues, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, the easiest way is to go to franchisesidekick.com. Our first phone call is only 10 minutes, right? So it's really easy just to say, hey, let's take a look at your financials, your experience, your capacity, those types of things. And from there, you would then be paired up with a franchise advisor, an experienced franchise advisor, somebody that's been in this industry for a long time that could walk you through the steps.
Well, it's absolutely fascinating, and appreciate you kind of sharing this overview of your business and how the franchising system works. The company is Franchise Sidekick. Ryan Zink, CEO and founder. We appreciate you joining us.
And congratulations on your new office space in Lakeside. We appreciate you leasing one of our buildings, and very excited right next to Walgreens there, and it's going to be very fancy. Thanks to Julie Hockney Design, who's going to make a fancy space there.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for your help there. And we plan to host a few folks in Omaha that are interested in franchising to come and learn about it. So appreciate it.
Sounds great. Thanks, Ryan. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Ryan Zink, CEO of Franchise Sidekick, going to take our middle of the show break for the news. And when we come back, we have the Noddle Company's Commercial Real Estate Development Spotlight. We're also going to talk about a couple of national recognitions that Omaha and Nebraska have received. You're listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. Back in a moment on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And welcome back to the show. Jeff Beal Steel sitting next to Trenton Maggot, and this is Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. Tell you, we love that D&M Roofing and Siding because they just do such a great job with not only residential roofs, but they also take care of commercial buildings as well. Big commercial buildings with flat roofs or, the steep inclined roofs. It doesn't matter. They do all of that, and they're just outstanding at it. And a lot of people don't realize that doesn't really have much of an effect on Omaha, but D&M Roofing has a Texas division now.
Yeah, Houston, they're growing it.
Yeah, so it's not just Omaha and Des Moines, Iowa. Now they are in Houston as well. So, but they're based here in Omaha, and they have such good people, and we highly recommend them. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go into our commercial real estate development spotlight of the week, brought to you by Noddle Companies. Noddle Companies would be the premier development firm based in Omaha, and they're doing all sorts of work around the country. But here locally, they're famous for Exarban Village, River's Edge, Builders District, several other developments. One of those other developments is Steel Ridge. And Trenton, tell us where Steel Ridge is located.
Steel Ridge is on both sides of Steel Ridge North and Steel Ridge South. It is on Highway 370 at Interstate 80. And I would say it's 70% built out now with some big industrial properties to the south, and then
like that
on
big
the north,
Tello's building that's under construction.
On the north, you've got H&H, and you've got Baxter. You've got different car dealerships, and Menards owns their lot right there. Yeah,
and the news there is that H&H Shine Shop has now opened, and that is an indoor car wash, huge car wash. It is located on the very south side of Steel Ridge North. So in other words, it's on the north side of Highway 370 as you go into that development where the new car dealerships are. Looks like a pretty cool place.
Yeah, I'm a Tommy's guy through and through because I represent Tommy's franchisees and have done many of them. But this is more of a full service. If you really want the full indoor-outdoor experience type of thing, Shine is there.
And that is your commercial real estate development spotlight of the week, brought to you by Noddle Companies. If you want to find out more about Noddle Companies, the website is, appropriately enough, noddlecompanies.com. And when you get there, you can see all the projects they're doing and find out much more about the cutting edge stuff that they're doing. Noddlecompanies.com. Well, Trenton, in this segment, we want to talk a little bit about some national exposure for Omaha and Nebraska. The exposure for Omaha is good. The exposure in this case for Nebraska, really very good. So let's get the negative out of the way first. A new study finds that Nebraska is only the 40th best state to start a small business. And
that's surprising.
Yeah, I didn't like seeing it.
Who's the source? It's probably some
Lendio.
Lendio. You get that on CNN.
Lendio, whatever the hell that is. Lendio released a study of best states to start a small business using most recent data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Census Bureau, and the Small Business Administration from 2016 to 2023. All that explains it, because we got way better in 2023, so I'm sure we'll find it. Okay, so the key findings in Nebraska show 48.4% of small businesses survive for 5 years. There are 35 incentive programs in Nebraska. Corporate tax rates are 7.25%. Companies received $6.3 million in loans per 100,000 residents, and 6,684 educated workers moved into the state. Apparently, those statistics only get you number 40.
Well, you and I have always said that, what is it 34% of all statistics are made up?
I think it's 35.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 10 best states to start a small business in 2023 were in order, according to Lendio. Number 1, Texas. Number 2, Florida, followed by Ohio, Massachusetts, North Carolina, Colorado, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Georgia. And it's always fun to talk about the worst states.
Yes.
The worst states that are way worse than Nebraska at number 40. The worst states were Maine, New Hampshire, California, New Jersey, and Rhode Island. None of those surprise me. High tax, high regulation. Nebraska's number 40 ranking, though, disturbingly, because we really compete a lot with the states around us when you think about it. And we didn't fare so well there. Nebraska's number 40 ranking trailed Colorado, which was number 6, South Dakota, 16, Wyoming, 25, Iowa 28, and Kansas 33. At least we beat those boogers from Missouri. They were 41st. But let's get some good news out there. While Nebraska might be kind of, at least Omaha's doing well, because Greater Omaha, which is, of course, home to Offutt Air Force Base in Bellevue, Greater Omaha is one of 5 communities across the country selected for the 2023 Great American Defense Community. And this is according to a press release sent out recently by the Greater Omaha Chamber. The Association of Defense Communities announced the 5 selected communities in conjunction with USAA, which is the company that sponsors this contest, just recently. And the 2023 class, in addition to the Omaha metro area, includes El Paso, Texas, Fairbanks, Alaska, the Montgomery River region in Alabama, and the Fort George G. Meade region in Maryland. And that's actually really important because
we're in good company.
Yeah, because we always want to be aware of base realignment and closure threats and all that sort of thing. And when you consistently are praised by the military community for, sometimes they call it post-community relationships or something like that, that helps. And so we are doing a great job in the Omaha area of being facilitative of and welcoming to everything and everyone who is at Offutt. We need to continue to do that.
We always need to be on a mission about our missions.
It's a good way of putting it, because Offutt is a huge part of what we do around here. It is about the biggest employer in the area. And so that makes Offutt Air Force Base pretty critical to us. So we periodically like to give you a little update about what people are saying and thinking about the place where we live. Now, that's that's it for this segment, and we've got one more segment to go. We're going to take our final break, and when we come back, it's what you've all been waiting for, the Turner Construction Lightning Round, and I'm looking at the list, and I'm seeing a lot of things on there, including some restaurant and retail news. So you're listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. Trenton and I will be right back after this. And it's time for the Turner Construction Lightning Round here on Grow Omaha. Jeff Beals and Trenton Magid at your service. Turner Construction is one of the nation's best known, largest, and most effective contractors. And then here in Omaha, got a nice office and all sorts of projects that they do. And the nice thing about Turner is that they have the resources and the bench of the major international construction company, but they have the small town feel of actual leaders in Nebraska who are from Nebraska and interwoven into the Nebraska community. So you get the best of both worlds when you work with Turner. And you also get the best of both worlds when you work for Turner, because there are a lot of people out there thinking, in the trades, where do I want to call home? If you're thinking about that, definitely go to Turner. What's that, Trenton?
A lot of stability at Turner.
Absolutely. Trent and I have personally gotten to know a lot of the leaders and the employees there, and can tell you it's an absolute top notch. So if you're looking for someone to help you with your project, big, small, or medium in size, look no further than Turner Construction. All right, shall we get started?
Let's do it.
Bomb Taco Taqueria and Cantina is replacing Burrito Envy in a corner restaurant space at 123rd and West Maple Road. Burrito Envy still has its original location in Benson. Bomb Taco has an existing location at 120 Olson Drive in Papillion. Sweet Thai Rice will hold a ribbon cutting with the Sarpy County Chamber on April 14th for its new restaurant at 153 Main Street in Springfield. Sweet Thai Rice had previously operated as a food truck. I think it's so cool when food trucks become bricks and mortar. It's kind of a rite of passage, if you will. Everyone in Elkhorn and beyond loves Dairy Chef, and they are now open for the season. So if you ever want signs of spring on a depressingly cold March 18th day, know that Dairy Chef is open for the season, so warm weather will soon follow. So last week, it was announced on the show that Lego is touring the Omaha area looking for sites for its probably only Nebraska store. So we posted that on the Grow Omaha Facebook page. That blew up. Apparently, there was even some group that had shared it that was like the Lego Society of Lincoln or Omaha or something. I had no idea the number of adults who are wild and crazy about Legos.
They build cities out of these things.
Honestly, I always just think Legos is the little, actually quite negatively, I think of Lego as the substance of that damned movie I had to go to when my kids were little, which was the worst 2 hours of my life, the Lego movie. But that said, apparently a lot of adults are just crazy about that. So we got so much enthusiasm when we announced that Lego is searching for its first Nebraska store somewhere in the Omaha metro area right now.
I'm going to open up a store next door to it that's house slippers that have extra padding, so when you step on Legos, it doesn't hurt.
Legos and Barbie doll shoes are both very painful things to step on. Cupcake Island has unfortunately permanently closed after 17 years in business because of staffing issues and rising costs, the same thing that's making it so hard for restaurants and food service businesses. Locally owned bakery had been at 1314 South 119th
So it
Street.
dissolved from rising tides?
Beg your pardon?
Cupcake Island.
Oh, yeah.
Dissolved from rising
because
tides.
Because of the melting of the ice cap.
Yeah.
See, that's what happens.
Yeah,
so,
I did that.
Trenton, you were involved in this next story I'm going to share. And Great Plains State Bank has leased space at 174th and Lakeside Hills Plaza, basically 174th and Center, about 4,700 square feet. What's Great Plains State Bank?
Very excited about it. It's a local bank. I don't know a lot about their history, so you'll have to read about it online. But, it's just under 5,000 square feet. It was Nebraska State Bank, and then it became, when they got bought out by Mutual of Omaha Bank, so it was vacant for a few years, and people looked at it for medical space and all kinds of different uses. But I'm very excited that banks are going back to customer service and having drive-through and branch locations. And that's not the only bank that's growing. There's a lot of banks coming out. Bank of America is actually having 2 new locations.
Absolutely. King's Home Creations plans to open a new showroom in April in the Elkhorn area. This is a locally owned resurfacing business, which means they will put like a new kitchen countertop on top of your existing one, so it minimizes the disruption of renovations. They also do vinyl flooring, interior painting, cabinet painting, and redooring, plus bathtub reglazing. The Mill Coffee and Tea out of Lincoln has opened its first Omaha location this week in a renovated building at 31st and Leavenworth Street. The space offers indoor-outdoor seating plus a drive-through. The Mill has 4 existing locations in Lincoln, and the early reviews are this place is supposedly really good.
They certainly got a lot of publicity.
Yeah, apparently people are crazy. I remember going to the Mill like 100,000 years ago when I lived in Lincoln in college. Music's playing, so the last thing we have for you is Muchachos, also out of Lincoln, popular New Mexico-inspired restaurant looking to open in Little Bohemia in Omaha early in April. That's it. I'm Jeff Beals.
And I'm Trenton Magid.
You've been listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Turner Construction, Dingman's Collision Center, and D&M Roofing and Siding. We'll talk with you again next week at 9 o'clock right here on News Radio 1110 KFAB. If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.